discuss, analyze, and interpret a short story, Studies in the Park, by an English-speaking Indian author, Anita Desai. And as usual, let us work out the strategy for understanding, analysis, and interpretation. Consider the biographical, historical, and cultural context. Generate inferences insightfully from the text. Get engaged with the text and apply various strategies. Identify the problem the author is trying to resolve. Identify deeper implications insightfully from the text. Focus on literary and language means. And as usual, about the author, about Anita Desai. Anita Desai is considered as one of India's leading English language fiction writers. She is a writer who introduced the psychological novel in the tradition of Virginia Woolf to India. She was born in 1935 in Delhi to a German mother and a Bengali father. She married Ashwin Desai when she was very young and raised several children, 2 sons and 2 daughters, before becoming known for her writing. Her first book, Cries the Peacock, was published in England in 1963, and her better-known novels include In Custody, published in 1984, Bogmartner's Bombay, published in 1989, and Journey to Ithaca, published in 1995. She grew up speaking German at home and Bengali, Urdu, Hindi, and English at school and in the city streets. But Desai only writes in English. Her short story, Studies in the Park, was first published in 1978 in her collection Games at Twilight. And now about the story itself, about Studies in the Park. Studies in the Park is Anita Desai's short story about the choice of a young Indian man named Suno, whose family is continually pressuring him to study for an exam which will determine his future educational track. The pressure continues to build on Suno, who cannot concentrate in this environment, surrounded by people who make constant noise, the sound of the news in different languages from his father's room. Constant clash and clanging of pots and utensils as his mother prepares meals, the noise of bells, whistles, and sirens, the delivery of milk. Suno decides to study in the park and go there every day. He realizes that students are dying a slow death. The arrival at the examination hall will be the final proclamation of death, and he chooses not to take the exam after all. And now about cultural and historical context of the story. In 1876, Queen Victoria of England took on the additional title of Empress of India. During the 19th century, India was viewed as Britain's valuable colony, jewel in the crown, the most precious possession in the empire, and the key to the rest of Asia. British ships controlled the sea route to India, and the countries on the route were carefully watched. Great Britain wanted to control South Africa and Suez Canal in Egypt to keep the route to India safe in order to protect trade, which was very important for Britain's industrial development. India was a colony of the British Empire for almost a century, from 1858 to 1947. Since 1947, India won its independence. English is spoken by more than 15 million people in India. However, the official language is Hindi. All students are required to be bilingual. Many are trilingual, speaking English, Hindi, and their mother tongue. So India has 1,600 languages and dialects. And now let us deal with comprehension check. Why is Suno unable to concentrate on his studies? What vision does Suno see in the park? Why is he so affected by the couple he sees in the park? What does Suno mean when he calls himself a professional? How does the author describe Suno's state of hopelessness? And your response to literature. Suno feels as if his books are parasites sucking him dry. He feels as if his brain is jammed. Have you ever felt the same? Have you ever been exasperated and hopeless? Have you ever felt that all your life pursuits are vain? Have you ever felt this way about your studies, work, or life in general? Language and literature. Explain the use of the literary elements of a story: theme, plot, setting, character, point of view. Identify symbols within the text and evaluate the author's use of symbolism to convey ideas. Determine the author's style, identifying particular word choices and figurative language. Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is a combination of speech sounds which aims at imitating sounds. It is the use of words that sound like their meaning. There are two varieties of onomatopoeia, direct and indirect. Direct onomatopoeia is contained in words that imitate natural sounds, as ding dong, bang, cuckoo. These words have different degrees of imitative quality. Some of them immediately bring to mind whatever it is that produces the sound. Others require the exercise of a certain amount of imagination to decipher it. Onomatopoeic words can be used in a transferred meaning, as for instance, ding dong, which represents the sound of bells rung continuously, and may mean noisy and strenuously contested. Indirect onomatopoeia demands some mention of what makes the sound, as rustling of curtains in the following line, and the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain. Indirect onomatopoeia is a combination of sounds, the aim of which is to make the sound of the utterance an echo of its sense. It is sometimes called echo writing. Find examples of onomatopoeia in the story and decide why the author employs this phonetic stylistic device and employs it so often.